Customer service. Online, this is a pretty interesting statistic, and there's still probably at least a third, maybe a little more of implants that don't have web to print. But that statistic is one, I believe, from InfoTrends, that about 50% of orders will be online. And I'm not saying that automation is going to get 100%, but ideally what you want to have left are some of the things that are special, and that you have time then to handle some of those special orders that just can't be automated for whatever reason. These I thought were some pretty good tips. Go out and take a look at your customer in their space. Mike George from Villanova is particularly good at this. I was sharing a story this morning with somebody on the bus on the way here. He had, I think, a bursar's office or one of the administrative offices said, we want some posters. The kids are coming in and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and we want some posters for the wall. And he said, well, why don't I come over and take a look? So he went over and took a look. Well, lo and behold, posters on the wall weren't going to help because all the students are doing this with their phone. So his idea was to get some floor graphics, a lot more than 14 posters. Higher margin, solves the problem, trust, customer for life. So just some things like that. What are the ordering needs? Take a look at modifications you've made over time. As you are changing things, you need to go back and revisit your processes and your workflows. There's an old story about a woman who always cuts the end off of her roast. And somebody said to her, well, how come you do that? She said, well, Grandma always did it. And then they found out Grandma's pan wasn't big enough, so that was why the end was always cut off the roast. So don't get caught in the trap of, well, we've always done it this way. As you're changing things, take a look at your process and see what needs to change with that. Beginning with the end in mind, I think that's a particularly interesting one because that allows you to kind of work backwards and you can find some things that you might not have otherwise. And then building for an intuitive feel. Again, that's really just kind of being customer friendly, having a good user interface, thinking about it from the user perspective. What a lot of our customers do is they're about to implement. They're taking orders into the system, acting like a customer, and putting orders in the system so they can get a feel for how it feels to be the customer. I think that's a particularly good idea to do. And then just a little bit more about customer service. I'd mentioned about just sort of stepping up the game and not saying, well, I give good service, because everybody says that they have good service.
Last year, we added a goal for everybody and my staff to provide radical customer service. And I always say that with more flourish. It's not just customer service, it's radical customer service. We have to get out and help somebody out of their comfort zone, above and beyond, more than the normal. And it didn't hurt that part of their performance-based evaluation or the raises were tied to those, making sure those goals happen. So they were looking for ways to go and help people. And they came back with samples of doing a 65-inch by 36-inch poster in an hour and a half. They gave us 2 hours, so we shouldn't complain. But when a customer calls at 3 o'clock and needs it by 5 o'clock, and my staff figured out a way to do that without batting an eye and tells me after the fact, that means they're providing that radical customer service. When a nationally known speaker comes to our Boys Town and then hands our customer the PowerPoint presentation that they'd like copies of, there's 12 pages and they give them 20 minutes to do it in, we get calls for those, and instead of saying, no, we don't do that, we found a way to provide that radical customer service again. And in 19 minutes, because they wanted to hand them out beforehand, we provided them with 75 copies of the 12-page PowerPoint. It's about 900 copies if you're doing the math. And I was impressed. My staff figured out a way. We used 5 different machines and put them all together, and they were stapling them in a row in the production line and out the door. That gave them such an adrenaline rush. Early in the morning, they were good the rest of the day. That was kind of fun. But giving the...
So I thought that was interesting. It's part customer service and part employee engagement. The other example there is actually from a K-12 school district, Richland Schools, up in Washington, and her staff has developed what they call the SOS. See it, own it, solve it. So that when an issue happens, and now they just say it's an SOS. They just take care of it, and they have a little competition of who had the best SOS for the week, and the manager buys lunch. Great idea. Something pretty simple, doesn't have to cost anything except a lunch.